That's one of the most important places to be, right in that red area. He sailed a pass to a wide open Harold Fannon in the flat. A couple plays later, he is intercepted. CJ Gardner-Johnson shouted this at Shedeur Sanders. He said, "This check down city, boy." Started camp of hot boy and KC Conception. I sung praises. I've been telling y'all about Denzel Boston for a long time. I didn't know that KC was gonna be this nice, and I was wrong. The kid's nasty. Give KC some credit. Give Deshaun.
That's one of the most important places to be, right in that red area. He sailed a pass to a wide open receiver in the flat. A couple plays later, he's intercepted. And CJ Gardner-Johnson shouted at Shedeur Sanders, "This check down city, boy. Bills joint practice just happened, and there's a lot to unpack." Deshaun Watson started hot, then handed the ball away in the red zone. Shedeur did what Shedeur does, kept the offense moving. And by the end of the day, the tape tells a story a lot of people are not ready to hear. So stick around, because this one gets messy. So, don't skip a single second of this video, and if this story touches your heart, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments, where are you watching from? Let's begin. Check down city. That's what they yelled at him, right there on the field, in front of everybody. A veteran defender, looking a rookie quarterback dead in the eye, and telling the whole world he's soft, that he plays it safe, that he can't push the ball down the field when it counts. And for a second, the whole narrative just sat there like it was already true. But here's the thing about that moment. Here's the thing nobody wanted to sit with. That taunt aged about as well as milk on a hot summer day, and I'm going to show you exactly why. Let me set the table first, because this matters. This wasn't the Browns lining up against their own practice squad. This wasn't a walkthrough. This was a joint practice. A real opponent flying into that building, bringing a former MVP quarterback and a defense that hits back. And when the competition is real, everything counts double. Every clean read counts double. And every single mistake, that counts double too. So keep that in your head as we go. Now, we've all heard the same story on repeat. This is an open quarterback competition. That's what they keep telling us. Open, fair, may the best man win. But watch how the media talks about it. Watch how every headline quietly hands the job back to the guy with the guaranteed money. It's open, sure. Open the way a door is open when somebody's already got their foot wedged behind it. And I'll be honest with you, for the first 15 minutes of this practice, I got why. The veteran came out firing, efficient, decisive, making his reads, pushing the ball, looking every bit like the guy Cleveland paid a fortune to be. If you watched those first 15 minutes and then closed the app, you'd have walked away thinking this thing was over. Done, settled, go home. But practices don't end after the highlight reel. Say it with me, because we're going to come back to this line all night. Practices don't end after the highlight reel. Football doesn't stop just because the tracker looks pretty for one stretch. And what happened after those first 15 minutes is the whole reason I'm sitting here talking to you right now. The tape turned. It turned hard, and it turned on the exact guy nobody expected it to. So here's what we're going to do. We're going back to the film. Not the vibes, not the graphics, not what the analyst told you to feel. The actual football. We're going to look at who cracked when the pressure showed up, and who kept his composure when a defender was in his face trying to break him. They called the rookie soft. They called it check down city. So let's roll the tape and find out something real simple. Who actually blinked? Let me be fair before I get fired up. Let me give the man his due. Deshaun Watson walked into this competition as the starter. Full stop. You don't hand somebody $230 million fully guaranteed and then treat him like a camp body. The contract talks. The coaching staff talks. Todd Monken is still standing at that podium calling him QB1, and on paper, that's the reality everyone accepted before a single ball got thrown. And you know what? For that opening stretch, he earned it. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you to push a narrative. Watson came out of the gate sharp, efficient, decisive. He was getting through his reads, throwing with rhythm, dropping dimes when the pocket was clean. For that first window, he was the best quarterback on that grass. Nobody close. I said what I said, and I'll say it loud, because if I can't give credit when it's real, then you shouldn't believe a word I tell you when it's not. But here's where I stop being polite. Why? Somebody explain this to me. Why is this still framed as his job to lose? Why is the rookie the one who has to prove he belongs, when the rookie is the one who never handed the ball to the other team? Watson threw the pick, in the red zone, in the single most important patch of grass on the field, and it barely scratched his status. It's a footnote, a rough stretch, a shrug. Now flip it around. Last week, Shedeur has one bad rep, one, and it's hung around his neck for days. Talk shows, hot takes, the whole circus. One mistake becomes a personality. Watson gives it away in the red zone, and it's Tuesday. That's not one standard, that's two. And we all see it. And here's the part that really gets me. Look at how the reps were split. Shedeur didn't get some cushy script handed to him. Early on, it was run call after run call, barely any throwing reps out the gate. He's standing there watching handoffs while the veteran gets the volume. And what does he do when he finally gets his shot? He marches the offense down the field anyway, late, on a real drive, against a real defense. That's not padding stats on a clean slate. That's making a meal out of scraps. That's a guy taking the 2 crumbs of opportunity he got and building something with it, while everybody assumed the outcome was already written. So all I'm asking for is one standard. One, the same standard for the veteran and the rookie. Grade the tape the same way for both of them, because the second you do that, the second you stop protecting one name and scrutinizing the other, this whole conversation starts to sound completely different. And trust me, it's about to get a whole lot louder. Because they didn't just doubt this kid quietly. They said it to his face. Check down city. 2 words. And they cut deeper than any stat sheet ever could. CJ Gardner-Johnson isn't some no-name trying to make a roster. He's a veteran. He's got rings. He's got a mouth, and everybody in the league knows it. And he looked at Shedeur Sanders in the middle of a live rep and basically told him he's a coward with the football. That he plays scared, that he checks it down because he can't or won't take a shot downfield. That's the villain of this story. And honestly, he said out loud what a lot of people have been whispering for 2 years. Because let's be real about the road this kid walked in on. Draft night, he fell, and fell, and fell. A quarterback everybody talked about in the first round slid all the way down into the 5th. Every team passed on him, some of them twice. That kind of fall leaves a mark. It tells a young man the whole league doubts him. Then came the labels. Game manager, check down merchant, a guy who lives on the short, safe, easy stuff and shrinks when the field opens up. That's the box they put him in. And Gardner-Johnson just stood there on that field and slapped the lid on it in front of everybody. So let the doubt sit there for a second. Let it breathe. Because it makes what's coming hit so much harder. Now let's turn that same mirror around. Let's point it at the veteran. Everybody's protecting. Deshaun Watson is coming off 2 Achilles injuries. 2. He hasn't played meaningful, healthy football in what feels like forever. And he's carrying a contract so heavy that every single mistake becomes a referendum on the whole franchise. And that red zone interception? Don't you dare call it a fluke. That wasn't a tipped ball. That wasn't a receiver falling down. That was a decision. 7 yards from the end zone, a defender sitting right there in the window, and he let it go anyway like nobody was home. He had a safety collapsing. He had inside leverage staring him in the face, and he threw it into the teeth of all of it. And here's what stings the most. It came right after his best stretch of the day. He was rolling. He was cooking. And then he made the one read a franchise quarterback can't make. That doesn't make it better. That makes it so much worse. Because you can fix a lot of things with reps. You can fix footwork. You can fix timing. You can fix touch. But decision making, that thing that tells you when not to throw it, that doesn't just show up because you got more snaps. So the defender dared him. The doubters buried him. The league gave up on him. And the very next chance he got, Shedeur Sanders had the ball in his hands. What he did with it next changed everything. Here's where the whole thing flips. They told him he was soft. So watch what he does next. Shedeur steps up to the line, and before the ball is even snapped, he goes to work with his cadence. Hard count. And that Bills front seven, a real NFL defense, not scout team guys, jumps, offsides, free play. Stop right there. Because that alone is something most rookies can't do. Drawing a veteran front offsides with your voice, that's a trick that takes years to earn. That's command. That's a young quarterback bending grown men to his rhythm before a single route is run. But he's not done, because now he knows the flag's already in the air. It's a free play. And this is where the football IQ jumps off the screen. The safe move, the check down CJ Gardner-Johnson was clowning him for, was sitting right there. He could have dumped it off and made everybody happy. He didn't. Instead, he looks downfield, finds Isaiah Bond, and puts air under it. On purpose. Not a rope. Not a laser into traffic. Air. Because he knows exactly what he's doing. Either Bond climbs the ladder and comes down with a 40-yard bomb, or the defender's got his back turned and it's pass interference. A spot foul. 40 yards either way. Heads he wins, tails they lose. That's not check down city. That's a chess move. Think about everything happening in his head before that snap. He's reading the corner's leverage. He's clocking the safety rotating late. He understands the situation. Down, distance, the free play in his back pocket, all of it, in real time. That's the kind of processing teams pray to develop in a young quarterback, and he's flashing it in year 2. And here's the part that turns a moment into a movement. It wasn't a one-off. He did it again, same stretch. Another free play, manufactured off his own cadence. Once is a highlight. Twice is a pattern. Twice is who he's becoming. Now widen the lens, because it's not just him. Watch who he's lifting. A deep ball to Denzel Boston, and Boston lays out, full extension, diving grab, to move the chains. A 4th down conversion to Harold Fannon to keep a drive breathing when a stop ends it. And then the one nobody saw coming, Casey Conception, a name barely anybody was saying 2 weeks ago, turning into the best pass catcher on that entire field. And that's the point. This wasn't Shedeur locking onto one favorite target and forcing it. He spread it around. Boston, Fannon, Bond, Conception. Different guys, different spots, different reads. That's not stat padding. That's a quarterback going through his progressions and trusting what he sees. They dared him to be more than a game manager, and he answered every single doubt in one afternoon. So the tape is in. The reps are logged. Now the only question left is the one that decides everything. So let's lay it all out on the table, clean and simple. Deshaun Watson started this practice as hot as anybody on that field. I gave him that. I'll give it to him again. But he ended it with the single costliest mistake of the entire session. A red zone interception that wipes out everything good he built in those first 15 minutes. And Shedeur Sanders, go through his whole tape. There's not one play like that on it. Not one backbreaker. Just rep after rep after rep of a young quarterback earning trust. One guy gave the day away. The other guy stacked it brick by brick. Now zoom out, because this is so much bigger than one afternoon. Watson is coming off 2 Achilles tears and a long time away from real football. Shedeur is the guy who already bridged the gap last season when Cleveland needed someone to hold the line. And here's what people forget. The front office was in the building for all of it. They've seen both tapes. The real ones. Not the edited highlights, the real film. And you think a rep like this one just evaporates? You think a guaranteed franchise quarterback throwing a red zone pick while the rookie manufactures free plays with his cadence twice doesn't get pulled back up in a quarterback meeting behind closed doors? It does. It always does. They may never say it into a microphone, but that tape gets watched. That tape gets talked about. And here's the thing that should have every Browns fan sitting up. This was just a joint practice, just the appetizer. There's a live preseason game against this exact same Bills roster still coming. There are more practices before final cuts, which means every single one of these reps is getting logged on a depth chart in that building, whether the public tracker shows it or not. So here's my prediction, and I'm putting it on record. If this is the version of Shedeur Sanders that keeps showing up, under real game pressure, real officials, a real crowd, there is no keeping him off that field. I don't care whose name Todd Monken says first at the podium. The explosiveness, the poise, the way this kid processes the game and keeps leveling up week over week, you can't bury that forever. They passed on him in the first round. They passed on him in the second. They called him soft to his face. And he keeps answering. Not with words, with football. That's why you keep watching. That's why this story isn't close to over. So I want to hear from you. Drop it in the comments right now. Was Deshaun Watson's red zone interception the single biggest mistake of Browns camp so far? Or did Shedeur's free play read against CJ Gardner-Johnson prove he's already thinking a step ahead of everybody on that roster? Tell me where you stand. And if you rock with this breakdown, smash that like button and subscribe, because this quarterback battle is just getting started.